Hey everyone, I'm Tassinix, and welcome to Plotting and Scheming, the Grand Arena focused podcast centered around the top 100 of Kyber 1 in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I am joined by my regular co-hosts, Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal. Gentlemen, thank you for your patience in, getting us set up to all be on video once again. It's going to be fun doing this for the preview episodes. But it's a new 5 vs 5 season on the horizon. Dagger, how are you doing this evening?
I'm going to struggle bust through this, and I'm going to pass the fuck out.
Context is key. We are recording on St. Patrick's Day, and Dagger decided to celebrate. So,
Well, it's also late.
It's also
not just on St. Patrick's Day, it's also late.
Well, yeah, I took a nap so I wouldn't literally pass out during the recording. So I've got, I'm not defending anything here.
Yeah.
Very fair. TJ, how you doing this evening?
I'm mad at Tassin actually took so long, I have to go raid. So if I'm looking down, it's not for questions, I actually have to do raid and game stuff. It's ridiculous.
Very fair. Very fair. Sasha Aisha, sir, how you doing this evening?
Doing well, Ted. Yeah, doing well.
Okay, and of course, Fatal, how is it going?
Happy to be done with the season.
Yeah, the 3 vs 3. I only caught the first few minutes of your last 3 vs 3 round, but I know things went south more or less quickly. So you're just looking forward to 5s then?
The 5v5 meta that we left was in a pretty decent shape, as I recall. So we're in this weird transition where 5s is kind of the best that it's been in a while, and 3s is kind of the worst for me that it's been in a while. Where I'm like, huh.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Well,
I think Ezra's been very toxic to 3v3. I don't really mind Ezra at all. It's just that teams like Tuskens aren't really what they used to be.
Yeah.
I guess that's right.
I never agree with Fatal some more. And his summation of the season, if you listen to the end of his thing, I'm like, yeah, I was sad. I was going in hyped, and then we went and did it, and then I was leaving it like, oh man, I was not a fan of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Week 1 was very chaotic and fun, but then the moment that people understood what went where when, it was like, there is no stone left to unturned at this point for me. It's just like, I guess I might just die.
Yeah, this week 1 was probably one of the most fun weeks of Jack. And you can make whatever arguments you want about me just getting back to Kyber 1, but I've been in Kyber 1 previously, and maybe a couple of years. This last week was probably one of the most fun GAC weeks I've had in a couple of years. It was really good.
It's because we didn't know what was going to happen, and so it was like a kid in a candy store of chaos, right? And so we were all there, and it was all exciting because new datacrons and all of these things, and you come in and it's in your face exactly what it's going to be, and then here we are, we threw some. Oh man, that's what it was ended up being. It was very let downish for what it should have been.
I don't blame anyone for playing the way they play, but I think partly to blame is that I actually went and looked at a curiosity. I'm literally the only person who plays heavy defense that isn't playing at least some amount of efficiency now. So it's just like, the meta is the meta. If that's what people prefer, that's what they prefer. But it's just like, all right, it really is just a choice for me at this point.
Yeah.
So. You were the only one bucking the system last time, Fatal. You would play that way regardless of the game. You played it your way and never broke. If you wanted to survive or get in there, then you were doing what you had to do. That's exactly. Let's say I liked it, but I would conform for the point of I want to win. You would play the game, and I respect you for it, the way you wanted to play the game, regardless of the results. And that is a precious few who will do that and say, I don't care if I'm going to win or not. I'm going to play my game my way. So I respect you for it. I did not do that. I played because I wanted to win. And what that comes up is you're setting usually the same amount of GLs or whatever else. You have what counters are not going to work. You could take a risk here or there, but not to, I would say, your extent.
Do you remember at the beginning of this season when we talked about the mods for Darth Revan, Zalbar, and Mission? And then they didn't fucking matter?
I said that.
I heard that it was bugged. That apparently something about the mission crit damage wasn't transferring or something. I don't know if that's true. Take that with a hyper great assault.
Even if that's the case, I'm talking about how the team 54's great mothers with shit mods.
You don't need mods.
Yeah, that's what I was
just
referring to. I was referring to just
yeah.
how easy street this team is. Mission sacrifices, and then they all die.
That's the game. That is, and I think you called it pretty good too. It's like it can probably do other good B teams, but that's the key B
It's
team if you're
because
looking
it
at something.
can't beat GLs. It's because it literally has a clause in there that says it can't beat GLs.
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And that's what I'm saying. It's
when
like Great
present,
Mothers, Balin, like this is its ceiling.
yeah.
Because it just literally cannot have a higher ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the particular bummer was their vulnerability to Gungans, because if you brought Torples, it was a pretty clean 57, and that took them out of the viability of, well, like if nothing else, you're going to have to throw a GL and completely disarm them, or you're going to come correct. Instead, you're coming with a B-level squad for perfect banners, and pulled them off D for me, which I didn't want to.
Not just that, but like I don't know how you feel about this, but I saw people like Lord Vader soloing mine, and I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about you 59ing this in general. Like I get that you used the GL, but you weren't using it anywhere the fuck else.
But anyway, the 3 versus 3 stuff we will cover,
which is actually good. We can talk about how that Datacron or how that only probably won't. I'm sure some people will find uses for it in 5s, but
we've got a Patreon question on that.
Yeah, that is something we'll get to because people want to know if there's a place for DRZ later. But anyway, exactly. Enough on the wrap up of 3 versus 3, gentlemen. Let's dig right into the 5 versus 5 related agenda. So first off, softball, to all of us is what have you been working on in this off week here? New relics supplied, new Omicrons, anything significantly reworked in anticipation of the new season? I mean, I've got my new Bad Batch up to snuff. I'm hoping to get Omega Fugitive to Relic 9 before the new season, just so that I have her, Crosshair, and Mercenary Wrecker, all Relic 9. That was kind of a small goal of mine. His own... Crosshair's Omicron was the last one I applied, but I did that back in 3 versus 3, so not a whole lot that's changed for me just in this last week. It's been a very busy month, but not a lot in the last week. How about you, Dagger?
It's really hard for me to apply more relics to my roster, but I did finish Crosshair. Shut up, TJ. No, I did finish Crosshair. I did obviously slap the Omi on him. Yeah, I actually am going to have Marin modded for Jabba, although that's probably DOA this season. Because I finally worked on Tenacity mod so that I can hit all of the metrics I want to hit as opposed to all the metrics that I have to hit for DW.
It's an interesting question. What do you think about that, guys? You think Marin is probably not something that's going to work against the Embocron Hut Cartel?
The Super Saiyan Jabba team? I do not know if you're catching Super Saiyan Jabba team.
Cad scares the shit
I'm
out
also
of me.
going to...
contract will go off.
Just seeing where it's doing with... I'm going to go 50-50, because getting to play with Cad is a ton of fun. So I just saying, seeing what it was, and I know Dagger talked about it, and then knowing what power Embo can pack, not even in TW, I don't know, man. I'd lean on the OG Night Sister Guru guy and Fatal and his thoughts on it. I know you relicked up, right? So I know the team's going to have it there. And they should still be squishy because there's not a lot there for them to hide behind. So at least the truth is out. But I don't know. That team with 5 of them on there and the ability to move fast, that is some scary shenanigans.
Yeah, instant contract is what scares me the most. I mean, not instant, but just really, really fast contract scares me. But yeah, Fatal will probably have way more to say on that than I would.
The stuff that concerns me isn't necessarily on the what I think a lot of people would consider to be the good Hut Cartel Datacron. I don't know, I don't think Night Sisters are boxed out. I think bad Night Sisters are going to have a real fucking rough time And I suspect that, like, if you're an invested Night Sister player, if you've got, like, a high relic Marin, if you're willing to, like, do the legwork on looking at your mods, looking at your datacron, like, for all I know, maybe it's like, yeah, we're having conversations about, like, a defense modded Marin with, like, a tenacity cron just to try to, we don't have defense and datacrons this season, but you can make it up via other ways. Like, that's stuff that has always kind of sat on the fridges that I never really bothered to look at, but, like, I mean, if the tide is rising on one side, like, you want to keep on using a counter, sometimes you just gotta, apply some elbow grease.
Shift along with it.
Yeah. So
funny, man.
I don't think it's, like, fucked. Like, you would want to make damn sure that, like, if we're talking about liability here, your Marin needs to be correct on tenacity, because, like, I assume that everyone's going to be using the long text one that has, like, the heal block for debts.
Right.
And your first hope is don't let Bausch land debts on you or your Marin. And then you obviously can't negotiate for the Jabba locked one, but your hope at that point is that you have a person or two dead, you can just cycle some turns, get that shit off of yourself, and then you're just kind of home free. So
let me ask you, Fatal. I believe you were still 3-manning it, weren't you? Even at the end when we had the start of the crime, were you still into 3 or 4-man? The reason I'm asking is that would you expand out your arsenal to say try to give the additional target because your goal is don't put the detonators on Marin? That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it's not a bad call or a bad idea. I mean, I haven't used DACA in forever, but it might be time to go back to that too. I don't like. Fuck, man. My Marin was so high investment so early on that I was never really that DACA dependent, but I kept on hearing horror stories of, like, I DACA revive my Marin, and then her Omicron stopped working. But then, like, I would hear other reports of, like, well, but if she dies the second time and then your DACA brings her back again, then it starts working. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on over there? I don't know. So, like, but all that is to say, right? Like, if you're looking for safety blankets, I'm sure that, like, yeah, probably bring DACA with. DACA's not that hard to do anyway, as long as you're not, like, shooting yourself in the foot of, like, yeah, my DACA just has a bunch of armor on, and right, her stacking health tends to solve that problem if you end up in that position for her killing herself. That, I mean, any health stacker with her or Asajj can do that just fine. I don't know. For all I know, it might be a bumpy ride on the first week, but I do think that by the end of the season, I imagine that it will be a comfortable matchup for me. But I think... No, just one closing point. I do think that, like, 3 of the different HUD Cartel level 6s are trying to counteract Niceses in different ways. So I think your sole responsibility as the Night Sister player is, I'm sorry, but this is one of those seasons, you're going to have to look at the datacron before you go in. You're going to have to see, like, okay, fuck, this dude's running tenacity stack, so I might be, like, thinking more about, like, a potency level 3 or some shit like that instead. You're gonna have to look at where they're guarding and shift your attack to counteract.
Okay,
that's a really smart call. Take special notes of that one.
But thankfully, with Night Sister still being an option, we are graced with DTMG.
Meaning what?
I'm pretty sure he'll be able to take down most Jabbas as well.
Oh, okay. I really wasn't thinking about that. Just, set 19, last hurrah of the Imperial Trooper, or are you doing something else?
So my thought would be the 25% TM with the double damage when max health.
Yeah, okay, the set 19 Trooper one. Yeah, okay.
That was one of the things you asked about the working on. And to me, I think that's the other key thing for this season, especially. That locked in turn meter for that team on, especially the troopers, just your OG troopers, and then your Imperial Remnants.
Be a monster this season too.
Is there any reason to fear the Jabba shielding for TMR, and then, like, you somehow just can't kill him?
Yeah, but I feel like that falls into the same category as some of the Night Sister checks as well. Is to make sure that you have some amount of damage on your cron.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
Again, I can't. I'm going blind off of, like, Arena/TW, obviously. So I suspect it will be viable. I don't know how viable. I wouldn't be surprised if it ending up being around, like, 75%, 80%. I don't think it's going to be just haha, I win.
No.
What about after?
No, I think.
Sorry.
No. I don't think Afra's going to be good this season in
Okay,
fives.
yeah, because I love using her, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah. If you just read Cad's level 9 and then imagine how many turns Boosh takes, and you're dead.
Yeah. All right, that's fair. Fatal, you alluded to 3 of the Huck Cartel level 9s specifically seem to threaten Night Sisters. I'm sure that's going to be like my first YouTube comment on this video. Which do you see those as being?
Just long text
and tenacity stack,
and I don't remember the pool. I actually might have been up to 4. I can pull it up real quick.
Yeah,
Tess, it was the level 6s rather than 9s.
Tenacity stack for sure. Long text will be tricky. Ability block we don't really care about too much because it's fucking Marin. Like, you're just spamming basic anyway. Maybe the Huck Cartel Terminator. Okay, maybe it's just 2. Maybe it's just the tenacity or the long text.
Okay. No, I appreciate it. Anyway, yeah, that was all kicked off just from asking Dagger what he was working on Relic Omicron wise here. How about you, TJ? What about you here in the off week? Your preparations.
Same thing. I think you called it out perfectly. I'm ready to play with my new toy, the full toy, not half the toy. In the Bad Batch, I think we're all excited to see what it's going to look like and what it can do. So it's just getting those just right. I'm not you with the spendy pants section, so I already got Wrecker. So I'm hoping I want at least Crosshair to be 9 as well, because I would like to push the Relic Intensifier, especially for his setup. And then I'm biting the bullet because I'm so tired of watching you guys do the Night Sister stuff that Marin is on my permanent list of quick R9s as well. I'm done not being able to do it. And this was the last season I had my last straw, so I will be taking the extenuating circumstances of Marin and Treya are my next 2 personal 9s that I am trying to get up ASAP because I'm done with the shenanigans that it's not working.
I like those
it's basically because of what Fatal said. I need to put in the grease. If I want to play the game, I've got to do the work. So that's really where I'm at. But as far as refinements, I think Dagger called it. It's pushing those to be just the right spot. And then seeing what we're going to do. I'm unsure of how it's going to work with Balin. I think he's he's my other unknown, because he'll be what I would consider full power as well. Right now, it just depends on, is it full Bad Batch? Only because if you look what Fatal was able to do, you didn't need the full new Bad Batch team to make the stuff work against such things as the Mothers. So does it end up being, and that's where I think we'll get out of week 1, does it end up being Hunter and Wrecker with the Merc squad? Because that is a really good squad. I heard Solo talk about it. I know we've seen it. That team together has got some big power. And especially when you just called it with your Wrecker being R9, does he go there? Does that need to shift modding anywhere? Because that could be a scary team. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm playing and juggling with it.
Yeah, and you brought up Balin, and I just wanted to add to that. I am curious to see how both Bo and Balin translate to this 5v5 season, because based off their performance, I honestly think they might both be better in 3v3 at this point than 5s.
That is a tough statement.
What are they killing in 5s?
In 5s, if you put Ahsoka and you have ATF, that's dead, right? So we'll take that out of the water. We already know that's dead. It was dead last season. It's dead this season because that Burke level 6 is strong.
Is it dead even with Ezra?
It's the fulcrum being present that makes it extra.
If ATF, that's the only reason I put the asterisk of ATF.
Yeah, if it
non-GL Ahsoka, then they can't crit you under a Balin leadership.
And that's what I'm saying. If Ezra's there, if ATF is there, it's done. It's that I'm still going to hold to that. It's not strong. Yeah,
I'm just saying that we have so many options. That's all I was saying. Is that
no. If I think ATF is on your Malicos team, and I think Ezra is on your, because you don't want to open the door for Balin to take her. If she's there and you see that, you get to Balin the team, and that's
fair. I didn't think of that. I didn't think of the non-GL Ahsoka clause.
Yeah,
It doesn't come up all that
Either way,
often.
that's
No,
where I'm
it's
at right
fine.
now.
It's fine. Like I said, I just want to see how they translate because we'll have way more
Yeah,
options
well,
than fives.
I think we're going to be strong, man.
Okay.
But I also think the one we didn't talk about, I'll let someone else do it. Dash Nuke. I think Nuke is going to be a monster as the other big one. So
Yep.
I'll leave it there because I don't want to steal all of it. But those are my key things when you're saying what am I doing right now? It's just the refinements for those pieces because obviously there's only 11 teams.
Okay, fair enough. How about you then, Sasha? What have you been cooking in the pot in the off week?
So nothing underway yet, but what I'm really probably going to spend the most time honing are datacrons. You know, we got Conquest back, and when we went through the first Conquest for this datacron set, I really spent a lot of time going wide rather than deep on them. And there are a few particular datacrons over matches, and just as I anticipate the next week, that I really expect to want. Like
Yeah.
kind of to the last conversation, like a high tenacity, high cartel, probably long text 6, but just, some more tenacity options. And I figure I've got a week to do that. Excuse me. When I look at relics, I'll be bringing the new Bad Batch up to muster, but probably uh, only so I wrecker Merc at 9. I just for me that's always been such a no-brainer investment on a nice new tank, particularly one that pre-taunts. In this case, has like synergy across some pretty cool factions with the new Bad Batch team, but also Mercs in general. So that was a no-brainer. But I'm banking a couple of other R9s probably through first week to just kind of see, like, is it best to have it go to Fugitive Omega, Crosshair, or do I want to perhaps like make some long overdue investments in crew members that I've got, so that my fleets are improved, despite the fact that she's at every friggin' time. Then as I kind of look going ahead to the next week, I haven't made changes on this front. We're going to talk about it in a bit, but like one of the things that's getting kind of fun mind share from me is Zalbar. I still am just super enamored with that Omicron, and
Yeah.
not like it literally it's the first provision. It's not even the 3v3 or 5v5. I'm not thinking Old Republic, and we'll get to that conversation, but I just love that first provision so darn much. So I'm kind of thinking, oh, that's cool, because another like pre-taunt, not only reactive but like most persistent taunt I think that we've been offered is out there. And so I already had it at R9, but that's one that I'm having fun just sort of contemplating about where it goes, including the fact that I may take my Tarfel up to R8. Probably not for this season, but like I swear to God, the next Datacron set where defense is a stat again, Wookiee relevance, I think is going to pop up, because again, that's Albar. That's Albar. Ami is so cool.
I've had some sneaky ideas about using a Tarful team here. Yes.
Totally. I set one.
Just to
in
Sasha's
3.
point, to remind those, Zalbar gains retribution and taunts for 1 turn at the start of battle, at the start of his turn, and whenever he loses retribution or taunt. Whenever he attacks out of turn, inflict a stack of damage over time for 2 turns on all enemies, which can't be evaded or resisted. Enemies can't gain defense up or stealth.
And then if I can follow that with one clause from Tarfel's leadership, which says, under his leadership, anytime a Wookiee taunts, and as Dagger just highlighted, Zalbar, if somebody sneezes, Zalbar taunts, right? Like he's taunting. Every time a Wookiee taunts, it is an additional 10% stacking defense for all Wookiees, without a cap. And that defense translates into offense at the beginning of the turn for each of these Wookiees. So, like, I'm not saying it's happening this time. Although, if I'm bored enough, I'll throw it out there. But I just, that's on my mind.
Too. It might actually beat something too that wants to take a lot. Like if you have a 4-minute fight, it might actually beat something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it wouldn't be surprising if you accumulate like an added 400% taunt across your team from him, having that happen 40 times over a 5-minute match. I don't know. So that's where I'm Tess.
I like that. You said you were preparing a few other crowns. By the way, I know we've already spoken about our expectations about Night Sisters versus Java, but yes, that high tenacity Hutt Cartel Cron was forbidding for pretty much every opponent of mine all last season, and I do expect that'll continue to be really tough on the opponent. So everybody who hasn't locked that in, if you haven't gotten that high tenacity Hutt Cartel Cron, that is the best defense to the Night Sisters.
The potency level 3 might make, especially in 5s, the potency level 3 might be good enough. Because it's 30% potency per enemy without a debuff.
Mm-hmm.
It does, but you have to consider that the enemy count will go down as Java's last standing, and then at that point it's like a wise opponent would bring enough potency via other means, because if they're facing tenacity level 6, they're facing less pressure than like long text, so you can easily just budget a potency cron while that's still in set.
Okay.
That's fair.
Fair enough. Well, last but not least, Fatal. How about you? So I know you're really testing and flexing out what what Crosshair and friends can do. Excited to see what you'll be coming up with this season. So I'm sure there's been work in the background surrounding that. But don't let me put words in your mouth. I'm saying that included, though. What you been up to?
I'm just fucking around in Squad Arena. Squad Arena testing is pretty bullshit. I'm never gonna put much stock in it. If I can control both accounts and control the mods on both sides and the data cards on both sides, then maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I did come to realize, for whatever reason, I thought that Fugitive Omega's Omicron worked against GLs. It apparently does not. So, my Squad Arena is dog shit, but it turns out that the fights that I'm doing, while pretty suboptimal, are mechanically not that far off from what I'll be experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't usually prep for a season until the season's here, so I haven't really done anything beyond
lock.
just play with the toy.
Yeah, you don't start preparing until 14 minutes before lock. I best get better time. Better start automating.
I just need a week to decompress. I am in exiting W3 mode. But the running trend in the last 5v5 season was the focus on building super teams, so for the work that I will be doing, it's probably just going to be trying to look at that, although for all I know, maybe Sana Bam existing will kind of diffuse that bomb, or like ease enough pressure that like maybe that just won't work this season.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what I was doing last season. I'll pick up that thread where it left off. Maybe try to get Bad Batch on defense and see how that feels, because I don't think it makes sense at W3, but in 5v5, maybe?
I mean, so you're in 5 vs 5, what does it basically represent? Like, if you're putting it bottom front, it's like, haha, trivialize it with a GL, and you don't know that I've got, 3 GLs sitting in the back for you type of thought? That's kind of the stab behind it?
That line of thinking is like 3 years ago, Galaxy Heroes. That shit just doesn't really work anymore because GLs don't require GLs. So I don't know. I don't feel necessarily great about them being on defense. It's more just like a curiosity. That, like,
that's what week 1 is for. That's fair.
For whatever reason, if an opponent decides to try to play fair, then like they might have an unpleasant time because the team does have a pleasant set of tools for the side that's playing them. It's just. And to be clear, I don't know, like, player sided is favored, of course, but I do think you could take a GL against the team and have a bad time. It's happened before.
That would be
wild. I was a lot more excited when I was like imagining both Omicrons being on rather than none of them.
Yeah. So. Yeah. There's no way to play around with that. Fair.
And like to be explicitly clear here, that people don't get the wrong idea. Like Crosshair, I've confirmed has random AI targeting, so like Crosshair's not going to self-target. So all the theory crafting for that team is going to be built off of the back of like you need to just be thinking about like Hunter Mass and Ampag and all the ways to possibly build target practice like without hoping that they execute the kit the way that you would.
Speaking of which, I did get some questions from one of our 3 vs 3 videos, I think for week 2. You used the term Ampag and we know what it meant, but I explained it to a couple folks in the comments. You're meaning
damage on debuffs.
Damage on debuffs, yeah.
The level 3.
Yeah.
We just call it Amp Bag because it's really short to say, and that's the Conquest disc.
Exactly. Amplify Agony is where you're getting the term from. Yep. Good. So everybody knows. But
it's a bad acronym to use. Like I will call myself out on that one because it doesn't immediately make sense or like refer to the actual effect. If anyone has ideas for something better, I'm all ears. I just do it because I'm lazy.
No. I mean, yeah. Once you connect the dot that it's from the Conquest effect, it's intuitive. But yeah, no. Glad we have it on record now. So it's funny, we just wrapped up talking about our preparations, and last we were just talking about how we're applying Bad Batch. That was our first meta topic. So I know that it's difficult for anybody to read into what it's going to do in 5 vs 5, just as you were saying here, Fatal. You don't have the Omicrons active when you're messing around in Squad Arena. But, I mean, I heard here just weeks ago, long ahead of this season, that people were saying this is going to eat up Jabba in principle, maybe not with this current Datacron meta. I don't know. But what do you guys hear? What's the word on the street? What's the scuttlebutt for what this team might aspire to take on offense?
My limited experience is that it takes on anything that's not trying to burst you down in a hurry. So if lots of teams where they're not like think teams like CLS or like Bo, right? Like teams that have burst, I think they can probably take this team. But if you're just like trying to chip them down slowly over time, the moment you take one of them down, they're just going to take a bunch of turns. So if you take one of them low, you have to kill that person. You know what I mean? Like there's none of this fucking around where it's like, oh, let me just like take a few turns to chip this person down and then finish them off later. No, because the moment you do that, they'll take bonus turns and heal. Mm-hmm. And you can use that on the flip side when you're looking at what you want to attack with the team. Any team that's not capable of bursting down your tank to open up is probably going to be reasonable. But then they also have to do enough damage to actually cycle you through your bonus turns by taking you into 100. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I think it has a reasonably high ceiling, and I don't know how good the AI is, so I can't even speak to that.
Well, and there it is. I mean, you getting to pick your fight and you managing the character abilities makes it feel like we're talking about, like a team that is better suited in the player's hands, right? So
I think it's going to be okay on defense, though, just because it's mechanically sound. And like I said, if you don't take a team that's capable of bursting down the tank to begin with, there's a reasonable chance that they start taking bonus turns. And we talked about it during the kit review, where Wrecker just heals every turn.
So even if the targeting is bad and like the order to free Crosshair is not optimal, they might end up just going so quickly, regardless, stacking up so much target practice, whatever, regardless, that it could all work out in the end.
They'll punish you for not bringing in enough damage.
Fair. And we're dealing with that full lock stealth mechanic now, that full team.
Yeah.
It's not even the lock stealth that you have to worry about so much as it is the blanket global crit immunity.
Yeah, I'm not even thinking about that. Jeez, I really do need to put in another read on that kit. There's a lot in there, man.
That's the problem. It's all over the place everywhere. There's something sprinkled for the team. When this, if that, then it applies to everything, and you have to take care of the whole team.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. And that's not even taking into account if you pull one piece out, that you may miss this, but I don't care. Throw a Bad Batch Echo in just to play with the game some and spin it around, or you get to play with the team like Omicron or like Datacrons. You get to change something about what's going to happen or what the trajectory is doing. So it's, again, I'm going to go back to Sasha playing with the game and killing me with my Tuskens that didn't kill. So it's like you get to play a different game because not only are you taking in the Datacron you're going to take or this piece here, you get to pull one piece out, leave like your damage dealers. You have Super Wrecker, who's going to be very effective, and then play with a variation. So it's going to be like a real big utility night to see what they do with it.
Fair. Okay. As far as defense goes, so, Fatal, I was saying, so what, like bottom front to draw GL and have GLs in the back, and you're like, that's passe. That's not really how it's done these days in fives. So what does that mean? Now we're not talking generically, talking about week one here, right? While it's still fresh on the scene. So, if somebody were to ask, well, where would you think to set it on defense if you were so inclined? Just as a back wall, then, as maybe you're setting a more honest defense up front, your power teams up front, which is more your style, I would say. And then it's just back there in the back, like, do your worst.
Your defensive angle is post at bottom front and hope that they play a fair video game, which most people don't nowadays. So,
okay,
you're playing the odds. Maybe they do something that they shouldn't, and then they'll be like, "Well, I should have done the thing that I should have done," and then they'll do it, and they'll die with 2 battles instead of 1.
Okay, yeah. Any other thoughts you guys wanted to share on how you're thinking to use the new Amiga team? Don't want to cut you off.
I have a question for Sasha regarding it because he's saying he's reserving some R9s. What are you specifically looking to see before deciding whether or not you would like to invest those R9s? Like, what would this team have to do? What ballpark are you looking for it to land in for you to make those decisions?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I'm really curious to see. I expect it mostly to be utilized on offense. I had not gone through it thoroughly enough to say, like, oh, I have a sense of exactly what I want to use it for. Tried it a couple times in Squad Arena, but that's it. But I plan to do more. But that first week, as much as anything, I just like to be prepared for like coming to a realization of some like real untapped potential for it. And generally, like the way I tend to look at it, Dagger, is like in those battles, more often than not for R9, because it doesn't move the needle a ton in terms of damage, is like, is there some pillar of that squad that I just want to make sure has higher survivability than I can get to with my modding and Datacron at R8. And so that's probably what I'll look for and just say, like, I just would like to make this thing like super extra robust. And that tends to be what I look for.
So it's just a survival check for you then, for the most part.
Generally, I mean, as is the case, I think a bit in some of their stuff, but sometimes kits will have like some sort of meaningful difference with an extra relic level. But like from a stat wise, yeah, typically it's just like some little bit of extra survivability.
Okay, I was just kind of curious because you mentioned that you were going to reserve some R9s for week 2. Curious if you had a specific scenario in your mind of what you would be looking for.
No, you know what, Dagger? It's more, I'd say, like what's probably more relevant and more helpful is I just like to have that stuff preserved generally, for at the end of week 1, like I'd like to have some resources because we tend to learn a lot in week 1, including like what we want to invest in.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I was mostly just curious because, this is one of those teams where it looks really good on paper, and then as Fatal mentioned, there's the anti-GL clause. And it's kind of that carve-out to make sure new teams don't run circles around GLs with Omicrons, I think. So I'm curious to see how the team kind of like solidifies itself into the meta, because like theoretically it's not beating GLs.
I don't think it's actually meant to protect GLs at this point. I think it's actually meant to cap defensive potential.
Oh,
it's actually how I'm starting to view it. That like, okay, if you spend into GL on this, then we'll give you an out type shit.
That's way smarter. Yeah, that's probably true.
Because a lot of the tools that are here are very defense coded, right? The reactive turns are defense coded. The crit immunity and the automatic regen feels defense coded. That I do think that like, if the Omicrons were on the squad, I think I'm not gonna say it would be like nightmare shit. But I think it would change my feeling on it very significantly defensively.
It would be harder to brute force, is basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, next item then. Which Set 20 Datacrons do you think will be most impactful? I mean, I guess the original question was which Datacrons, but I don't think we're expecting any surprises out of Set 19 at this point. Feel free to disabuse me of that assumption if that's the case. But otherwise, I know when we were in the pre-show for this, Dagger was saying, yeah, the crons from Set 20 that you're stressed about in 5 versus 5 are going to be different than the ones you're worried about in 3. So, what do you got to say about that, Dagger? What are you thinking about? What are you preparing? What are you worried about seeing? So on. And well, Dagger go first, and then to the room.
Yeah. So more specifically, my point in the pre-show was about when we were in 3v3, we had some crons that just didn't get a chance to shine. See, insert every Hut Cartel level 9. And we had some crons that, like Snow Troopers, one that I think was going to be interesting in 5v5, because it really does scale better with more people on the board. And then you have things like the BAM cron, which nobody really used, and I'm not saying anybody will, but it will have more interesting applications in 5s as you're splitting out your like Sana Cheese team, and you're kind of I expect IPD might get some use on defense just as like a banner stripper, right? Like there's some of these things where I just feel like there's more use for them. I know Nest feels like it's going to be a little weaker. Mon Mothma's a better team in 5v5 than 3v3 by a fair margin. Maybe the Kyle Katarn Datacron gets something. Probably not, because the level 9 kind of sucks. But you get the point I'm trying to make, is that I feel like the crons we're going to be looking at, some of the teams are different in 5s than they are in 3s. Specific winners are Hut Cartel level 9s and Snow Trooper, in my opinion. Plus, now we have the TM. Veers is going to be way better with Piet, especially with the Piet cron. Possibly even with the range and or snow crons. 25, yeah. Yeah, and that's all that was the main point I was trying to make in the pre-show, that man, I'm really kind of interested in seeing exactly how far Veers punches up. Just because we've seen him punch pretty far up in the past.
Well, what's the edge you think Veers has coming into this? Because we had that Set 19 cron last 5 versus 5. So what do you think his edge is coming into this season? You're talking about Set 18 having expired, and that's creating new opportunities. What are we saying?
I think he's just better. So I mean, obviously there's a feeling, but I think that the team's burst damage is going to be more effective, just based off the previous set leaving.
Yeah, all that bulk leaving, sure, okay.
Yeah, and not just the bulk, but just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like thinking back to the last time we had Veers be good. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that all kind of plays out. Plus, I don't think there was really room in the meta last 5v5 for Veers.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think another good example of, it's hard for me to kind of quantify with like, because more of just a feeling of me using him in 3s, me trying him against a couple things in TW and in GAC, or not GAC, Arena. I don't know. It feels stronger now. That's all I can really say. And I think the threat of it is stronger. Because I think last 5 people were way more focused on the Magma Supercron and what it could do.
Yeah.
With the Ahsoka cheese. And I think that they were... I'm not saying these are going to be game-breaking. I'm just saying as far as, having options available.
Something that jumps out to me is where do the droid crons really fit into it in terms of, are we talking about some ridiculous harder defense so that we can use GG as a punch up? It's probably not a real defense. And then I did ask a couple minutes ago about Afra. You think that that's probably DOA on Jabba if you've got the right setup. If that's the case, is there room for Afra on defense, or is that wishful thinking? Droid cron, long text level 6, BT1 level 9, or not?
I honestly couldn't tell you. Mostly based off of, I think it will depend on how things shake out on the board. Because I think there is potential to get caught out against like a good Afra team on defense. You know, the whole I take a bunch of turns before you get to go. But I don't know. It depends on how I think in general it ends up being like not a great defense team, but I think when you're a big proponent to play the man, not the board or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think you personally will find uses for Afra on defense versus a few different opponents. I don't know if the average person will find use for Afra on defense. I know I've used Afra in the past to beat Lord Vader.
It would be
And some
harder to
other stuff.
CLS out. That droid immunity can be a pain
Yeah.
in the ass. Like the main predator for it would be something like a CLS Han Chewie, or probably a Dash Han Chewie would be even punchier. So that's what comes to mind when I'm thinking about the predators for it.
Yeah, I was mostly referring to like Cad Bane and some of that stuff. But sorry, go ahead, Sasha. Sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in terms of like trying to get creative on defense with the droid crons, I had set last 5v5 when they first came out an HK cron, like a sortie lead, BB-8, T3, GG, and HK. And I know it stopped an old school Bad Batch, which like you take the droid level 6 out. And the HK level 9, like would normally be a real clean like 65 banner win, and it got a win over an old school Bad Batch. And I remember Aesop saying like it was stronger than he thought. The next round, I think it was taken out by Amalgus, but like there's some use, but kind of back to the general sentiment about like people are holding more than they used to. That particularly in fives, your 11th strongest defensive squad's probably got to be better than that.
Fair. No, I appreciate you guys entertaining that. Yeah, that was my thing on the droids. What set 20 crons you guys thinking about? TJ, Sasha, Fatal.
I'll tell you the one I faced and underestimated, and I'm kind of I want to see what it does. And I know daggers at the level 9 for the Kyle Katarn isn't great, but if you tack on the Merc long text level 6, I don't know if you guys faced it or not. Kyle is a bitch, and that dude's punch and his bite is stronger than you think. I don't know if you guys got to face it or
Yeah,
not.
on Saw that's going to be nasty. I was saying it's not great.
Dude,
in
I'm
context
telling
of
you,
Mon Mothma.
but think about it with
my
Mon
thing is-
Mothma.
Yeah, I was just
No,
saying I
but
don't
think
think it's
about
as
Mon
good in the
Mothma.
context of Mon Mothma.
But what I'm saying, it is though. Everybody starting with 25%. Oh yeah, he's always attacking out of turn. So that means he will continue to attack out of turn. The amount of damage that dude was doing with Saw, true, like you said, but putting it to where you get the punch up and you do like Luthen on the team with not defense, man, not defense application. I think it'll be strong with Saw on the defense application, but on the offense, him hitting nonstop out of turn and then going again, he's already super strong. People underestimate him. He was a beast when he first came out. I think he's there. I honestly feel like, and getting 25% to start. So that whole TM equalization is there, right? I get the bulk, you're honest, you're doing it, but him and the team getting to go out in front and just never stopping. Like Leia, I assume Leia's dead.
So
like Leia is just money in the bank.
He is a strength attacker too. He is a strength attacker too. So the armor pen does scale really well with him because of that.
It's nuts. He was like, I got to face it at the end. People were setting it like all week, right? And I was taking Seer, and he was him. Fatal did great at explaining the team what you're bulking up a Luthen. They were shit. Kyle was beating my ass. And we're talking, I was taking the cow with the bulk, so two of them like that. He was damn near killing people by the time I was going. By third turn, I was damn near out. So seeing that with just those three together and thinking, man, put that with Mom Mothma, and Kyle will delete GLs. I wholeheartedly believe it. With the Luthen setup, I think it's a punch up. It's huge. On defense, I agree. It feels.
What level 3 would you recommend on that thing? Because you already touched on the level 6.
Let's still turn meter. The scariest thing is you can't be in front without either stopping them with the GL that has no terminal, like JNK or something like that, or you have to be in front. How? If you're equalizing it out, that's what I got faced with. Is I was facing the terminator setup, so they were already super fast with Saw. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll just take Seer because it's bulky.
Yeah.
Dude, he was hitting so hard, and there's offensive stats in the boost of the Kron as well. So I'm just saying, it was rough. I am wholeheartedly looking forward to what this is gonna do come fives.
You don't hear the bottom of my desk getting thumped, but I am excited for Mon
I know
Mothma.
you.
What you're saying is
That's
true.
why I said
I am
telling
excited
you,
for Mon Mothma just cold cocking like
all
GLs
of us
again.
have high relic are Kyle Katarns, and seeing what
Some
he
of us
did to
have
me
high
in
relic
threes.
everything, but
But you know what I'm saying though, right? But that's what I mean. You don't need. He's already super strong. Man, he'll hit you again, and there's a chance it's like holy shit, and he never stops.
All right.
yeah. Because again, I'm looking at it and like, yeah, I can. I'm looking at the level 9, and I'm looking at Kyle right now. Yeah, I mean, I got cautiously optimistic, but yeah, don't be putting Leia on defense versus this.
I do not think Leia's got any merit here. With you put that combination that's like, man, I need to kill something.
All right,
Kyle, go take care of my light work.
All right, moment of truth. I'm going to ask Fatal this: with 25% TM and Crex, do you think Mon Mothma can take out Jabba?
I mean, you're having to TM out of the Deadly Bluff. So, I don't know. I mean, like...
do you think it's on the table? I'm not even saying you have to say it's consistent, but do you think it's actually on the table?
It's a tall ask. Most teams that can take on Jabba either don't give a shit about assists or have some way to wrestle through those 3 turns at a fairly rapid pace. So, look, man, if you got a high investment Mothma team and you're just like rolling in tenacity and defense and bulk that you're just like chilling, then maybe. But I'm still concerned about contract, Embo ramp plus Jabba lock. That's forcing the issue.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. Appreciate that, TJ. Good notes on the Kron. Sasha, so, we talked about a handful of them. What else that we haven't discussed you looking forward to set 20-wise? Something, top of mind?
I guess if it were one small thing that it's like just more sort of a personal project because I like the mechanics of it is on the smuggler side. I want to be able to use my young Han. I just have always liked that character, and I got it up. I think I took him to like Relic 8, and the smuggler Kron is his moment to shine. He needs help. He's got to have some other stuff that's helping to ramp him. But maybe what I end up doing is like saving on offense a dash lead squad with Sana, and Young Han doesn't have to do a ton of work, but I just like that character a ton. I like it a lot. The other thing I haven't done, I don't have the Kron for it. Maybe I do have the Kron. I don't have the relics on it. Is I like the concept of there's a little bit of a puzzle element to it or sequencing required, and that you get Captain Han up in relics, and I think mine's like whatever the minimum was for maybe it was for the GL Leia, but if you had Captain Han and Vandor there, and you have the Sonicron, and you've got that huge revivability, because Captain Han gets his special reset every time somebody dies. So I could see throwing a lot of that stuff together for fun for a like seemingly indestructible ramping offensive team. So that's one that is right now just in theory, but the concept brings me joy.
No, I like it. Appreciate that. All right, and Fatal, anything else you had set 20-wise? We picked your brain on a few of the ideas. So anything we've left on the table?
I assume GG staff is going to be like a common defense staple for efficiency players. Like, just a high amount of guaranteed attrition. At the same time, CG's produced so much anti-sep shit that like I can't even say for sure if that's true for all I know. But
I want to believe, but I'm disinclined myself.
Look, I can't even rule out, because the thing I know for sure is that Staff uses his AoE first.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like, all of a sudden you have the conversation of, like, yeah, you just run old batch plus shock tier or something, and it's like, well, fuck, I don't know. Like, but, like,
I'm not even sold Gungans are good on defense right now either. And if that's
I
the
was
case,
gonna say I don't feel like they're one of the 11 anymore. They
they're
kill your
getting
smuggler
Zori.
shit.
I was gonna say they proved their merit in 3v3 as an
Yeah.
offensive staple for the lifetime of this smuggler cron. Probably a good call.
Yep.
Yeah,
The Gungans are just
Anything
gonna
wanted to do the shenanigans.
The Gungans are just going to park on offense and be the you posted a team that wants to crit, so no, you don't. Like the Gungans, DTMG, CG is just printing an increasing number of teams that are just like, I mean, fuck, even Zalbar Omicron. I went back and read Karthlead, and I'm pretty sure that Karthlead with Zalbar Omicron could unironically serve a role similar to DTMG, where like, because like every time the enemy team gains turn meter, they get a dot. And when they get a dot, you gain protection, so you're almost doing some Tuscan, like, reactive turn meter ramp shit that, like, you could literally just watch a team, like a turn meter trained heavy team, just, like, kill themselves on dots, potentially.
And then you have a level 3 that says when you have dots, you do protection up. So it's literally a double stack that is simple to do.
Yeah.
On lo and behold, like maybe, I don't know, a mercenary cron. And just stick that with the setup as, I don't know, there's usually that mission character that likes to go with them. Funky little things like that.
But even if it's not seen on defense, I do actually think that GG stab. I don't. Is this better or worse than Attacker 6? GG. That was also pretty fucking good. This is at least in that ballpark.
As a banner stripper, I feel like it's got to be worse, right? Because like that defense, I don't know. Maybe DI doesn't feel as good as Attacker.
The Attacker, the roll crons are just so much better than anything that they've kind of put out to a degree that I feel like it's kind of a disservice to compare them. I think the Attacker cron was way better at busting banners than this.
Yeah. The thing I will say is Grievous with the damage immunity and the locked buffs and the turn meter juggle, and then whichever level 3 direction you decide to go, which is actually like a hard choice because like you already have the damage buffs, but like a lot of the time Grievous actually like all he really cares about is landing his shit. So it's probably leaning towards potency, but like pretty much all the options there are pretty good, right? You're happy with Darkside turn meter, you're happy with the potency. I don't know, man. I think there's a world where a high investment Grievous, you could probably scam people on defense with it. Like you would probably need like Darkside reactive turn meter so that make your stab super fast, or he has the bonus turn. He goes once you get the 50% turn meter so that your stab gets to do the actual thing you run stab to do. I don't know.
Do you think it beats Saw? It did with the Attacker cron.
Captain Rex is the. If there's a Captain Rex there, I don't know if I feel confident in that. If Captain Rex,
you're not playing the same game.
It's just the common fucking factor, dude. Captain Rex is like, it doesn't even feel like I'm fighting Saul Guerrera or Luthen or anyone. It's you. It is you versus Captain Rex.
Those are different layers of the game. Yeah. 100%. You are playing two different games. You have the Luthen game, you have the Krex game, and then you have the ultimate combo of Luthen Krex game, and that's like you are not playing the same team at each level.
Speaking of the 3v3 meta, like, not to go too far on a tangent, but like,
no, you're good.
There were multiple times where I was looking at like, okay, which teams are too weak and can I do anything better than them with this season? And multiple times I audited Saw, Luthen, Krex of like, is this actually? And over, it's like, yeah, this team's like not dying to shit like Malgus, and I can't say that for others. Now, granted, they're like potentially dying to gas, but that's at least messy or bluesable. So, right, that's flexible.
Yeah,
it's standing the test of time more than say Tuscans.
Well, I think that's mostly just the power of Krex's like kit. Krex's kit is like one of the kits I don't think we talk about enough as just being just so good. AoE Days is just so good in general, then you put it on the package of survivability that is his unique.
This is what happens when you print a Rebel that isn't 6 years old. Because it turns out there's a lot of Rebel teams in the market.
It's true.
Yeah. I honestly think in 5, Saw might be close to being off the board, but it's obviously Datacron dependent. But, man, it feels like you're forced to put like Luthen and Saw there. So in 3v3, it just makes a lot of sense. I don't know. It might be a team I experiment with not using on defense this season. especially since it beats like Queen Amidala and some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Might be worth looking into other stuff with it. Or at least in 3v3 it did, so maybe it can extrapolate out to working in 5s. I should preface that by saying that.
Okay, that's good. Well, it's kind of interesting because we've been talking about Set 20's, been talking about the Bad Batch team and how that's shaping our plans for week 1. It kind of follows right into our next topic here. So, how good really are Galactic Legends on defense? Talking again for 5 versus 5. We've been in a situation where it's been a one-shot meta. At least this last season had... There was this last 5 versus 5 season, I recall there being a couple of tougher matches, but in general, my plan was, and it seems like my opponent's plan was, set something with a one-shot in mind. So, what are we thinking going into this season? How much with, Set 20, all of the smuggler madness going on, are we talking about some GLs just being trivialized, outclassed, some of the stalwarts being affected? How is your expectations of this first week shaping your plans for Galactic Legends on defense? That's
just to
floor.
define our terms. Are we considering Ezra Exile a Galactic Legend? I
Unto
have
himself.
jokingly in that, like,
how do you not, sir? How do you not?
All jokes aside, let's stick with the people that have the unique. That's called Galactic Legends.
Yeah,
For the sake of this conversation.
But my point with it,
I agree. I'm not arguing with that. I'm just saying.
I know. But it really, for me, I mean, I think that answer comes down to like it's like there's so much more than just the presence of a galactic legend. It's like it's composition dependent in this day of like an abundance of options, that like to be able to set a viable defense, you've got to have like a pretty special composition. And yeah, like the best ingredient or one of the better ingredients to start with is one that has a galactic legend unique, like, so it counts as that. But like I actually think that's like a core component of the dish, but like to make it something that's really like worthy of being served, it's got to have like I look at like where I put Ezra with probably greater thought and strategy than where like and frankly as a precursor to what GLs I put in. And it's not I don't mean that on Ezra exclusively, but like I just think of like the various things that have to go over the top to make a GL viable. So that was like kind of my initial gut reaction.
But I think that's exactly what it is, because almost we're back to, and what they've built again, honest GAC. Ezra's not playing an honest game. That dude's a monster. We've talked about it. I don't up Ezra. That he's TAS is easily one of the best R9s to put out there. Fatal, calling it out on the thing like that. If Ezra, it's like the if then Ezra is that the limiting factor, right? I think everybody can agree with that.
Yeah.
That changes your game of what you're playing. It's tough to call anything else, but almost everything has its off meta setup right now because we're not playing sneaky GAC.
Yeah, I think the intent behind the question more so was, what is the gap between the weakest form and greatest forms of GLs? For example, I know we talked about this a little bit earlier about the Balin. You can't put Fulcrum there on Ahsoka if you don't want them to Balin it, right? It's like when you're looking at your team, like what is the bar that you are looking to have on your GL team? Like, for example, Leia, if Mon Mothma's beating Leia, if Sana's beating Leia, like, why are you setting Leia? Is there a way to stop it? If there's not a way to stop it, or if there is a way to stop it, what's the floor? Like, do you have to put Krex there? And if you put Krex there, can you set Saw? Because, Saw kind of needs Krex to do his thing. And that's kind of what I meant when I suggested the question is, like, where are we looking at the floor for GLs? And, like, which GLs do we think, or at least initially week 1, are we not going to set because we don't think the best version of them is uncheesable?
JMK, hands down, has no business. There's nothing you can do or set that doesn't get beat out by something lighter. Inquisitors. It has multiple off-meta setups, and its punch up, in my opinion, is better. So it's better suited just being on offense.
I think it's a
JMK
really good
feels
banner offense team.
that's my piece, right? Because your question would be this: like, there is nothing I could do to change what can take out JMK. There's no amount of trickery. There's no amount of things because it's so cut and dry. You don't get TM, so doing a 25% doesn't matter. I can't fix Cat to do something shenanigan-y that is not going to be changed off because we have people starting the fight faster than her, and it will pull good banners. So I might as well keep him for what he can do on offense versus what he can do on defense. It's just
Well,
there's nothing I can pull.
let's rephrase the question a little bit then. What are the GLs and by extension the comps that you are considering using to bolster your defense? And I'm not talking about setting because your opponent might mess up against them. I'm like, what are like the 3 or 4, maybe there's more, maybe there's less GLs, like for example Jabba, maybe SOK with Dre. Like what are the GLs that you think are going to essentially carry week 1 on defense?
Ahsoka, Rey, Jabba will always probably be forever the 3 bar. I know people will use it on offense. I, for one, will hate trying to play Rey on offense.
I don't know how her kit works.
That's my problem. She is such a defensive staple, and I have used her, but fuck, is it boring? But can she still do stuff? Sure. She's got her lifter and her things, but it's Rey, Ahsoka, Jabba. But that's also there are crons to help lift and actually can lift the team. Then I think it goes to exactly what
Let's stick on
Sasha
Rey
said.
for a second.
Where's
what are we looking
Ezra?
to set on? Let's stick on Rey for a second. What are we looking to set? If we add Fulcrum, are we opening it up for Balin?
Yes.
Okay,
that is the answer. Nope.
All right, so if we don't set
are you
Fulcrum,
putting Ezra?
are we going to default to like Fatal's little L3 Watt thing? Like what are we looking at for Rey this season? If it's no Fulcrum and maybe Ezra, maybe not Ezra. Like what are we looking at?
I think Rey Nest is something I'll likely be trying. Rey Nest put pressure on a few things, and
it could be Smuggler. It could be Smuggler. Smuggler shenanigans could.
Yeah, basically, my thought would be when I'm scouting my opponent, how did he do against the set 19s of last season, right?
Well,
and if he basically had the right read on it, then I would probably default to something set 20 just to see if that throws a wrench in the plan. So
Tess, in the spirit of my question, where I remove your opponents struggling against a certain thing, like in a vacuum, right?
Sorry, yeah,
right. Like no. You're right, but that's why I wanted it to be like in a vacuum. Like I like Nest. Nest was good with the attacker cron against Malicos.
Yeah, it's not what it was that time. So
correct.
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
but it might be a deterrent.
Maybe, yeah. This is the time to see what it's worth, right? Because my instinct is it's probably not that great, and so if it is going to be that great, is it going to be great because I'm throwing another smuggler in with Rey? Am I really leaning into smugglers alongside Rey Swallow?
That's what I mean.
You know, like L3
the dash nuke on Rey, where you bam goes into poop stance and then dash does his AOE.
Sure.
Like is that something we could consider? Like either with L3 or
Ezra?
Ezra?
Then are you doing? So let me ask you this: then you did it before. Are you doing a cat in there to try to even further intensify?
Are we throwing Qui-Gon away to use Cam with JMK then?
That's what I mean. That's what I'm asking, because you're trying to give a floor, and the minute you say that, I think we've talked about it as like an oldie but a goodie. Cat on the team with the damage ramp, and you're doing the nuke, a BAM nuke with a cat intensifier just to add it in, because again, JMK, there's not a lot of room for what he's doing right now.
It feels a bit heavy for week 1 for my taste. That feels like I'm really.
I wouldn't call it a week 1. It's just me trying to theorycraft the next step. Of
I like the idea, but that seems.
What can you do?
Yeah, I like the idea. That seems like it would be too sweet for me to want to give that away in week 1, though.
Yeah, I was just thinking of ways to make Leia, like, Force Leia or Frustrate Starkiller and or
Force Leia.
So
Force Leia is a good question.
What about this though? To the point about haha, Galactic Legend, Exile Ezra. To that thought, set the Hera team, right? The Hera lead, the General Syndulla lead with Exile Ezra. Have Ahsoka. I don't know. You could have with Fulcrum and say, Balin me anyway, or don't. But then if you don't have Fulcrum and you don't have Exile Ezra, now you're talking about Magma Cheese again. So, yeah, I don't know.
It is. You're either going to say, go ahead and you have two options when it comes to Ahsoka. You're either going to do it with Ezra because that's the proper team, or you're going to do it with Rey. That's it. There isn't a middle ground.
What's that?
Sorry,
did you do something?
I think because I clapped, it gave balloons to TJ.
It did give me birthday balloons because of my call out, but that's what I'm saying. You have 11 teams. You are not putting your Ezra there. So to the point of where Dagger's at, Ezra's floor is Ahsoka or Rey. That is what it's doing. We'll clap because I want the balloons. But I don't see where else it goes. And if you're not doing Ezra on Ahsoka, you are doing exactly what you said. I'm pulling your Balin on my Ahsoka with ATF because you're not cheesing me. Even with the fix, people were still cheesing. They cheese me with Ezra there. So maybe it's even Ezra ATF, but I think that might be a waste. So
yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm just trying to think of like what defenses are going to look like week one. Because, man, I got nothing, man. Like that's what I'm saying. Like as far as
that's the problem. It's honest. You're not playing this. It's not dodge. It's smuggler sort of dodge, right? And so let me just put a debuff on you, and let me go back to playing the game. There isn't any trickery in your thing. You're either going first because you have more turn meter than me, so then I'll just stop your turn meter, a la JMK, or something else that gets the opponent's turn to start the fight. You're not playing any real shenanigans. In threes, it was there with Ezra because he intensifies the teams. But what other trickery, what other plotting and scheming, what other things were you doing where it wasn't like, aha, I've got you figured out. Cool, debuff, fixed. It's the answers are quickly solved as we got in threes, and even with your refinements, if you're not putting whatever type of tenacity on Java, well, I don't want to mess with it. I'm just gonna go JMK. Yeah. So that's fixed.
It's good that you brought it up.
It's tough.
What are we starting with week one for the Datacron? I'm probably gonna start with CAD just for the fast contract, but I think Embo might be slightly better.
I'm going to go CAD or Embo, but it's still HUT and it's still turn meter. I'm going to completely agree on the setup because playing it and seeing it, either one is fine. But to Tass's point, whichever one has the most tenacity, it feels like a solved question.
Yeah. What about the rest of you?
I don't have an R9 Gam Guard. I think it's like R7. But I think it was a TAS fight from last season. You faced an R7 Gam Guard, was it, TAS?
Yeah.
And it was like with the Gam Guard, if I had an R9 Gam Guard, and that is not my next R9, but if I had one, and it had like sufficient tenacity that you could keep the Night Sisters off of it, that one was really pretty intriguing. Like it's just, man, it's a lot of beef to get through. And so that one was kind of cool. What's that?
Double tank, you mean?
Yeah. Like it was just, it took a while, which, both allowed for, the contract to be reached, and you get to an ultimate with Jabba, and that's no fun. Like assuming you're bringing like, if it's not Night Sisters, maybe it's an SLK or something like that. So that was one. I really liked the Cad Bane idea, and I jacked my Cad Bane was R8 as a pilot, and had him there, but put some decent offensive mods on, and tried to do whatever I could to make him hit hard. It still doesn't hit super hard. And because I didn't have tenacity, it ended up being Night Sistered in the 5v5 season that I had that 5v5 1 week we had. Ace up used Night Sisters. But yeah, anyway, Gam Guard seemed intriguing. It's just not an option I've got, but it seemed pretty cool.
Okay. Oh, I appreciate that. Well, no, go ahead.
I want to go back. I think I was reading this, and I've been going through it. Sorry if I was trying to go through what Sasha said. Sasha saw something out on his Tarful, and so I started reading piece by piece each of the setups. I don't know if anybody's truly gone and looked at the comparison of what you're doing. I would go back and read I know there's the Patreon question coming up, and I don't want to take it away. I'm now on board, Sasha. We're samesies. I finally picked apart what it was doing. Just go read. I'm sure there's something there with doing the whole setup with Old Republic. I'm looking at Tarful and the fact that the team can do 25% to start the fight, and the fact that all your tanks that are on the team will taunt, and the fact that Zalbor's Omicron tied in with that will remove it and ramp the defense. And they do put in the clause about the non-GL. So don't get me wrong, it's there when he moves.
Yeah.
So taking that in comparison together I was not prepared for reading the piece of the piece, but putting that together. And if you go, and what's cool is if you put the team together, you can either go mercenary or smuggler. So you get to play with both shenanigans on the team. So there's something there. I don't want you to hit my people, so I'm going to make sure if they're not debuffed, they can't be hit. So there's a ticking time bomb on your Zalbar that was already there. Or I'm going to go the Merc side of things. And when they attack out of turn, which we do on the team. They'll do it again. And if Zalbar, he was already a monster. I don't know if we remember when it first came out. Zalbar was your moneymaker, right? That was what the team was built on. Think about him ramped up with defense that is ramped that high, stacked with the damage. And he takes that big bang. So I am now thoroughly excited at what we could do. So I'm at R7 right now, my Tarful, I think, and my Zalbar is already R9. So I am now on board reading what you were talking about. Because,
one more Wookiee convert. There we go.
Dude, because
there are dozens of us.
Dude, there's
That's
Bandor
right.
has
the
a
future
prod.
is now.
Dude, it's crazy because you could put a Vet Smuggler. If you go look at what Vet Smuggler's Cron does, there's mission as well. So you can play the game now and saying, I'm going to flex how my Wookiees are doing, and you can't disrespect them because this Omi is nuts by comparison with the Tarful team and having a Smuggler Merc setup, depending on which way you want to roll. So this is some stuff where it screams, Sasha. It screams like I have flexed and changed one thing. But that Zalbar, which Tash, your Zalbar was the stuff 11. Before it was cool, Tash had an awesome Zalbar. Putting that to use now and getting to play with the team, that feels fun.
It feels good, man. It does.
I mean, to be fair,
sorry.
To be fair, Tash had a really nice Zalbar, and it still hasn't taken a turn since 2018.
But now it gets to because it's got 25%. Bitch is coming.
I know. I think Sasha got it. Yeah, he used to be a sack of fucking bricks, man.
Dude, his modding was elegant though. Just to put it like this, Taz had Chef Kiss because I remember back in the day before it was cool. His mission was a stuff of legend. It was like 10K already or something.
It's so long ago now when that was relevant, but I miss those days. So before we move off, thoughts about Galactic Legends. We went pretty round robin here. Fatal, did you have anything you wanted to throw in on that before we move on? Oh, your mic may or may not be muted at this time.
My view of that is solely based on super team shit.
Yeah.
I mean, the state of Galaxy Heroes for the last 2 or 3 years has been that GLs don't draw shit, so everyone just has their GLs tied to non-GLs, and then they GL non-GLs just to shut those challenges down. So, if you're not thinking about, how do I mesh multiple teams together to try to shut that dynamic down to some degree, you're gonna come up pretty disappointed unless your opponent makes a mistake.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, like those three GLs we mentioned earlier on defense, I think would certainly be stalwarts for most of us. Ray, what was it? Java and Slacker, is it?
I think SLKR is going to be hurting really fucking bad from not having Darkside Bulk anymore.
So that's what I'm thinking about, like, you know, the bulk stat on set 20, right? Not turn meter level 3, probably buffs, something of that kind. But yeah, if I'm of the mind to set it, that's I agree.
With high health, basically.
Yeah, because we learned that from 3 vs 3, right? Slacker on defense without a set 18. The best of them in terms of holding were the thickest ones, not the hardest hitting ones. Sorry, you were going to say something there?
I don't.
Oh no, I was just going to say I wonder like how good off counters are against it. Like there were some again, I'm not saying that these teams will beat it, but there were some teams like JKR with armor or Gungans that were kind of close, even with the bulk.
The bulk with the high offense, right? The other ones. That's what made, in my opinion,
the Balin
when you had the Balin Kron on it with the good stuff, that was playing a different game. Without having that, I don't know if there's any amount of anything you're doing that's gonna make that to something where it's like, oh no, SLKR with Dre's on defense.
Week 1, I think it's okay to set, mostly because the cheesier teams are going to come out after week 1, and I think that if you're going to set GLs, like a lot of GLs, I think week 1 and week 3 are the times to do it. Week 1 because people are still trying to figure out their Sonic configuration versus Leia, some stuff like that. There might be some people dropping here or there just based on not having things dialed in properly. And then week 3, just the fuck it YOLO aspect of the here's 7 GLs.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think that's where your value is going to be. So going into week 1, I think if people don't have their check people's Sana modding. Like, you know what I mean? Like, go look at people's shit. Go figure out if they have the damn nuke set up. Like, again, we preach. I task specifically in TJ. Do your homework. Look at your opponent's shit. If they have it, maybe consider not setting it. But I know I'm going to be checking my opponents to see if I can set Leia or not. I'm going to check and see kind of what they do. So
you know what? I do have one if you're going to do SLKR that I think might be underrated, but there might be some merit here. That 2%, the 2 buffs, and then you gaining 5% offense.
Yeah.
That was a monster before. It's here right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would not underestimate what that might do with the right setup. Your SLKR could easily hit some pretty solid numbers. I know even the Bust on Basic was still doing good stuff with SLKR on a majority of the things you were facing. But putting that, I honestly think because of the stats that are mixed in, that 2%, it doesn't need to go first because you don't want your Dre to go anyway. You want her to sit by and just sit there. And then when she takes her turn, well, things happen, but you can't kill anybody until she's moved. So I don't want 25%. I don't want things to go like that. I want my team to do stuff to you, and you're just waiting for her to go before you get to do what you want to do.
Yeah, I also think JMK week 1 is also fine to set on defense. Put it up front. Go look and see if they've used off counters against it in the past. You can try and use it to tax something. I don't think it's a great team to set, but yeah, week 1 I think it's fine to try and tax. Because I'm going to be honest with you, going into 5v5, one of the GLs I don't really have a use for on TJ, remember this last season, he was a flex for me on offense all season. I never really had a use for him. So in that aspect, that's why I'm saying maybe look at placing him on defense, because at least he'll take something that's probably stronger than the alternative that you're going to be setting.
If you're doing it to pull. So I think that's exactly what you're doing. You are 100% trying to telegraph, because even then you can do exactly what Dagger said. Go do your homework, because I know you're going to use such, so then I'm going to put something behind that you may not be able to get to because you've used the counter.
I still think JMK up front I still think JMK up front is relatively prohibitive. Not that it's a hard team to beat, but man, if you think your opponent's playing a game and they are, and you guess wrong, Maybe you steal some banners, manufacture a drop.
Okay.
I don't know.
But yeah, going back to Fatal's response there, then so concentrates are definitely going to be the essence of Galactic Legends on defense. So Lord Vader Maul Malicos continues in some fashion. It was hideous with set 18. Less bulk here with set 20, but you could have bulk stats in there to be sure. And then the 15% turn meter getting refunded to you whenever you're doing a special is probably bad news. So there's meat on them bones. Yeah.
I sometimes wish Lord Vader could gain turn meter.
Oh, well, he's inevitable. That's the flip side.
I know.
He is our
Are we
Thanos.
referring back to the days of the Super LV again? So what was shown up and then is it back? Is that the idea?
Well,
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, if
Ufu,
it's going
or
to do
are you
anything
doing,
impressive, it'll be as a concentrate, right?
Yeah, so if you set Lord Vader and you're saying you're going to set Malicos Maul, are you then just doing like Thrawn Royal Guard? Or are you going to do something with like Inquisitors like Ninth Sister just to like lean into the Ufus a little bit more with Malicos?
I don't think I would do both Malicos and Inquisitors under Lord Vader. I might do one direction and then the other the next round, but probably not putting all three teams.
Well, if you're doing one direction, you're going to be down a member.
Are you satisfied with yourself? Are you proud of that one?
I was getting in the hashtag too soon. It was good though.
I'm pretty proud of that one. The fact that I was able to deadpan that was, I'm actually pretty proud of myself.
Dreadful.
But everybody knew. But then narrator, we knew.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you got, TJ? Something's top of mind for you.
The Maul Malicos seems interesting because there's still stats into the Ufu side of things.
Yeah.
I see what Dagger's talking about. It could be a 9th on the team, and it was at the glory of the Starkiller setup. I mean, that's clearly not here because of the always assisting mechanic, but you faced it quite a bit at the top, Tass, and Maul Malicos under LV is still a very rock solid team, and there are Ufu things here, and there is prot in some of the setups.
That was by far the most difficult defense for me.
And I would agree with it, right? You are paying the price. So as you were saying, as you're paying with blood for blood. You're setting such a just like I'm putting all of this together. Go fight me, and you have to respect what it's doing because it's not. You don't get to just do standard stuff to this. You get to respect the name of what it's doing.
Very fair. Very fair.
And the only reason I brought up Ninth Sister really quick was because I'm not saying you have to use other Inquisitors per se, but like I was just kind of bringing up Ninth Sister as a Royal Guard replacement because of the Ufu synergy.
I think that is a very serious threat condition because if the idea is to, have Maul pop off just as soon as possible, you're hard pressed to beat a decently sped up Ninth Sister, getting the speed up.
320 speed Ninth Sister.
Yeah.
Ends up being like 430, 440, something like that.
Right. So you crush into spin into Ninth Sister into 5 pushes. It comes scary fast. I suffered it last season. So yes, there's merit to that because you're thinking Royal helps for a longer fight, but that isn't the threat condition that we're offering here with Lord Vader Maul Malicos. It's like doom up front, and then it gets worse.
Now, this is a question for Fatal specifically because he knows kits better than I do. What do you lose if you drop or if you add Fulcrum as a 5th there?
To where?
Like Lord Vader's Malicos, Maul 9th?
I believe like almost all of Lord Vader should shuts off.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. I was just thinking that might be interesting. The bonus turns.
Okay.
But
all right.
Mind.
Well, guys, that was our meta-analysis topic list. Thank you, guys. Great discussion there. To not completely butcher the camera situation, I'm going to go ahead and commandeer you, Dagger. Would you be so kind as to kick us off reading off patron questions?
Oh, yeah, let me just pull that up.
I appreciate it, yeah, so I don't ruin everybody's camera again.
Yeah, we'll start off with All right. From the Lost Womp Rat, do you think the 5v5 Zalbar Omi will be worth it on defense or offense?
Yeah, Sasha, do you think the 5 vs 5 Zalbar Omicron is going to be worth it?
Or no, specifically on defense or offense. Where would you start with it?
I guess I would say probably D. But we obviously talked about the Wookiee option. But I think any place you can get a pre-taunt, and particularly one that that is beyond reactive. Like it's reactive, proactive. It's just plain active. I genuinely think with that Omicron that Zalbar is probably up there with the very, very, very best tanks in the game. So I would say if you're not going to set or use an old Republic squad, which I think some people will be tempted to do to try and draw on the 5v5 stuff. If you're not doing that and you look at your board and you don't have Zalbar deployed someplace, really think about it. Because I bet it's so versatile. I think it can be added to a ton of stuff. He fits the current Merc meta. There's even a level 3 that's particularly nice for him right now, that gives him product whenever you put dots on, and he's putting dots on all the time. So I think
if I'm wrong,
he's versatile.
He can go on a Ray team, right? And that first clause still works?
Absolutely. He can go on a Ray team. He's you lose. He could conceivably. I don't see a ton of advantage, but GL Ahsoka is one that doesn't lose a ton by adding a non-Spectre to her squads. He could be a really nice off tank there. Probably not where I would go, but again, it's just high utility.
Cash, you are muted, sir.
Yeah, just something that just jumped out at me looking at this. Enemies can't gain defense up or stealth, regardless whether you're talking 3 vs 3 or 5 vs 5. So you just saying that there, Dagger, slap Zalbar in with your wherever your Exile Ezra is type of thing, maybe just to see what would happen. Because if you're accustomed to doing Leia Drogon to wherever you are accustomed to seeing Exile Ezra, you're going to hide your Drogon, and then, Drogon's not going to be hidden. And I wonder if that works out poorly for you.
Also remember, too, that L3 cleanses light side scoundrels. And if he's the only other light side scoundrel, that could fuck with Starkiller.
Okay.
If she cleanses him on an AoE.
Mm-hmm.
So she takes the shock off, basically.
I can see it.
Just giving Fatal some more ammo for his L3 watch shenanigans.
Well, the thing I'll say is that L3 Watt is specifically built on the idea being a solo scoundrel to mono tank.
Oh yeah.
Well, I fucking say that, but then I put in Nest in the 1 week that I was running it, and that was probably a fucking stupid idea. I should have stuck with my guns, but fucking whatever. But yeah, the whole idea is if L3 is solo scoundrel, then she always just cleanses herself. So people try to debuff to get the dodge off, and then she just immediately shoots it off and goes back to taunting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I think we got that question squared away. Sorry, what were you going to say there?
No, I was just going to say, it's not like a Doom team. It's more just a cute little trap that is not that hard to break if you actually sit and think about it, but most people don't think so.
Fair. I also do note that, classically speaking, Tarful gets beaten by Bad Batch. If you've got this Omicron on Zalbar and Zalbar's in the team, that ain't happening. That's done. No stealth. You can't gain defense up. They can't be dazed. What is it? What is the 5 vs 5? Allies are immune to daze and exposed.
Only
Forget
if all
about
light side Old Republic allies.
Hey, good catch. Old Republic
yeah.
and the leader is not a Jedi. Okay. Yeah,
conditions. Sorry, I just wanted to.
Conditions. Fair enough. Okay.
It does make Jolie really dumb though. So Karth, Mission, Zalbar, Canderous, Jolie. that only makes Jolie really dumb because now Jolie revives all Old Republic characters.
Yeah. So are we talking about a Trolley Karth team? We've been shitting on Karth for years. Is his moment at hand?
I invoke the Karth clause. Any Karth cope should just be immediately purged. It's not happening. It's never happening.
It's such a bad
they could,
man.
They could print a Karth level 9 instant defeat every opposing enemy at the start of battle, and I would still be like, we'll see.
not sure. Not
also,
sure.
for what it's worth, Cass is an uncultured swine because he's never watched the movie. But basically, what Fatal's saying is stop trying to make fetch happen.
Whoosh goes the reference, so yes.
You guys haven't watched Mean Girls? Like, that's not on me. That's on y'all.
Yeah, no.
It
is on me. I'll live with that. I'll take those lumps.
Yeah, you eat shit.
All right, serve up the next question, Dagger.
What do you think the Zalbar Omi with Old Republic will be able to challenge on offense? And what would the best comp be? I think the best comp is literally just Canderous, Jolie. Like, I don't really see a reason to add Juhani, personally, but...
It has to be light side. If you're trying to do Zalbar and you want the Omi to stick, it's light side Old Republic. They've got it.
And it can't be JKR lead if you're thinking it's like,
they got you. They got you. Don't really push the sortie.
Your choices are Joe. It's like Jolie, sortie.
Yeah.
And Juhani.
Talking about T3, you can do T3 in there just to help with the debuff push, but it's still kind of
good. But I don't think it actually adds to the team. I'm talking about things that actually add to the team.
Yeah.
But it's like you're looking at like Sortie and Jolie and Juhani.
I could still see Bastila pushing the team, the old school combo. But again, to what does it kill?
Yeah,
that's a.
I don't know. I don't know what it's going to do on offense, Womprat. It's too much of a reach. Like the cool value is trying to see what you can draw out of the opponent if you set it on defense. But I don't feel like it doesn't seem like it's got a real punch-up potential. It feels like it's a desperate reach to try and apply it offensively.
Be clear, for what we're talking about, we don't really see an option for it.
Yeah.
I am sure... So, yeah, exactly. I'm sure that there are people that will find good uses for this team.
Maybe.
I'm sure it'd beat something like Gungans. Maybe. They have lots of assists and shit.
Okay.
They can do stuff. I don't know for sure that they will. I'm just giving like an example of a team that they might be able to beat. Nothing with Malik though. Also, don't set this shit. They might lose to Malik solo. Don't do that shit.
What about the rest of you guys? Any thoughts about applying Zalbar offensively? It's just any disagreement with me feels like a dud, or
nah. What I said a while ago. It's an anti-Terminator train team. You have the clause of whenever an enemy gains bonus Terminator, they get inflicted with dots that regens your team. It's just an extension of like Tuskens or DTMG.
Okay. But all the restore in it applied. Like who are you thinking that you would actually go line up against with your presumably Karth lead or sortie lead?
Look, man, we exist in an era where people post absolute dog shit so they can hold 30 squads. So just keep your.
All right. Yeah, all right. That's fair.
And damn well you fought a Phasma lead team like last season. Like, damn well you
I did not fight a Phasma lead. I fought many slackers with Phasma in it, but not a Phasma lead.
Just look at teams the way that you look at teams with DTMG. If you're like, well, they posted this squad.
I like that.
It's a Terminator trained squad. We'll see what happens.
Tusken, I feel like that's a good comparison. I think that nails it. Like Tusken, DTG, all of those teams that like you want to do something. That's cool. You're fine. You can do that.
I think we can all agree this probably beats something like CLS on defense, right? Like if your opponent's going to post something like CLS, this probably has legs.
Maybe. Depends on who. If somebody just gets brapped off rip by Han.
That's fair.
But yeah, all right. I think we got that one covered. What's next?
From Sheepdog, what is the Sana team in 5v5?
Ooh. good question. So whether or not it's under
Bam
her
lead or
own.
Sana lead.
So the question's
What are we
pretty
looking at?
flexible. Defense or offense, under her own leadership or not. What are you guys thinking? Probably, I'm inclined to try under her own lead because I have all of her ensemble characters reasonably well set up. So I'd like to see if that buys anything. Otherwise, we saw from 3 vs 3 that she was very effective at causing wrinkles as a member on some teams, but that doesn't really speak to me. Go ahead.
I'm gonna throw a couple different ideas I was thinking about with her, because to me,
And while you're
honestly,
speaking, I'm
she
going to
doesn't
run
have to
grab
be.
coffee real quick.
She doesn't need to be in the lead. So I feel like she's one of the most versatile. I get there's Nest, but I honestly feel like Sana holds one of the best positions for what this Kron can do, because the level 9 is so good. I think she's got like. So I'm gonna go back. I think she can go on Balin. And I know people are gonna say that's like, huh? But it's like, yes, she has weight there on the Balin team as well to mess with things, ramp the damage of an already super ramped team. Ray. So your question about what we could do, and I'm not calling it a week 1, but I think there's ways to try to throw a wrinkle in something. I think it could go to Ray. She feels like she can go to so many areas and really do and change the fight somewhat, and that to me adds a lot of merit.
It could be particularly interesting with like a Balin squad, Balin Shinmarok, and you throw like a no potency added Canderous, and you have a level 6 Retribution Merc, and every time you touch Canderous, he's going to be responding, and like he is very low natural. Other than his unique, he has very low natural potency, and every time a debuff is resisted, a Marok's unique gives turn meter to all the mercs. So you could see, TM trained that Sana is like just.
But there is an
offense.
inherent limit there, right? Because isn't it Canderous' basic does 3 attacks, it goes tap, 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 and on the third it applies 10 down.
So just put Hondo.
Why down, doesn't it?
Why?
Is it? I thought it was a third.
See, I don't understand why Hondo isn't your 5th in there. He's already a monster as it is.
Attacks for a third time. If the enemy had protection before this attack, Canderous attacks for a third time and inflicts tenacity down for 2 turns. Yeah.
So I think the spirit of this was, what is the Sana Cheese team? Not that these aren't great answers, but I think the spirit of this question is, what is the Sana Cheese team? For like Leia. And
to use Sana to counter Leia. I don't know much about that. Enlighten me.
You don't either.
Probably Bam lead, like Bam dash Sana. There are a couple extra things.
I don't think
you want.
I know you're talking about the nuke, but honestly, with the setup right now, I don't know if you need Sana for the nuke. I know that they're talking about it can be done. But yeah, to that question, I guess, sure.
Fatal, got anything?
I don't use these teams.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
We'll find out together.
So I'm looking at the question. What is the 5v5 Sana team with their Kron? Seems like what is she on, or what is she a part of? Not necessarily the Luke or the Leia nuke or whatever it is, but more sounds like, where is Sana at? Because
no,
again,
but I
still feel like
I appreciate Dagger's interpretation, because surely somebody their first question would be, I've heard that this is possibly like I've heard about this team nuking Leia. So that would be my first question, is that would be indisputably the highest calling of that team, to go and just punk a GL.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, obviously the question is verbatim, what is the 5v5 Sana team with her Kron? So I didn't phrase it probably correctly, but I interpreted it in such a way initially where I didn't think, and then I reread it and I'm like, oh, he might be talking about this Leia counter.
So it's a BAM. Okay, yeah, fair enough. So if we were assuming that we're going to try this Leia thing, Sasha, you were saying it's going to be something like BAM, Sana, Dash, who and who?
I believe it was already being used. We should be able to see it from last 5s, because I thought it was already. The team should already be out there, because if I'm not mistaken, people were using it.
Well,
week 3 of 5v5.
Let's see what we got.
Could be wrong, but that's where I was saying. I know Solo talked about it, and then there was brought it up. But yeah, as far as I was,
just lay a lead and then look up counters against Leia.
Yeah, I mean, typically you're going to want like IG-11 in there to make sure that you dispel like days and anything that's going to prevent the turn meter gain that ramps offense. And then I would guess the 5th is probably a tank of some sort.
Just put Sana on the attacking team.
Yeah. I was thinking it might have been at the top.
I heard it was Beskar though, so you are correct. That it was Beskar lead.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at trying to game the Sana
there it is.
level 9, BAM's lead is
IG-11.
Yeah, there it is.
And IG-11. Yeah, BAM's lead is an important element because Dash gives you the TM, but only on crits.
So here it is, though. So it's Sana Kron, max health damage level 3, so Amp Bag level 3, Long Tech Smuggler level 6. And then what made this successful? It had big chunk of crit chance and then some health and protection. Nothing too impressive stat-wise. This one was a withdraw after a minute. And what's different here? Oh, this is the same person, it looks like. Same Kron. So how do these teams differ? They're the same composition, so how's the Kron different? Set 19, riposte, bulk. So this, interesting. Defense penetration up and offense penetration up is the big difference. Oh, and just stupid resistance pen.
Yeah, not
this
not
one. This is no slouch either, though. 235 and then 22% offense. All right, so sample size of 2. This was done exactly twice last season, assuming that minimum relics is 7. I guess I can dial it down to 5 and see if that gives us a little more. No, it's still only 2 attempts done. But anyway, if you're looking for an early idea on what that offensive composition is, there you have it. All right.
Also from Sheepdog, does TAS intentionally give bad advice to guest GAC streamers?
Not intentionally. That's I'll leave that to Dagger. But I
was gonna say I thought that was Dagger who owed crystals to your guest.
What I'm guilty of.
Oh no, this is a long-standing tradition of TAS, costing the people a drop on the front wall.
Yeah, what I'm very much guilty of. So I make mistakes on my own with my own calls, with my own characters and setup. What I'm guilty of with viewers is, use X counter for Y team. It's going to work just fine. It's butter for me. And I've had my characters modded and set up just like so for so many months and or years, as the case might be. And why shouldn't that work just the same for you, right?
Right.
And then you die.
Right, okay. Dagger, right? Right, Dagger? Yeah. That is, Dagger tasked him. That's what happened. So. That's what was trick track. As Dagger said, I didn't mean to task you, and that's a verb, meaning I didn't mean to screw you over by assuming we had the same stuff.
Yeah. It's like when I tell PJ to Wampa.
My Wampa's okay. It did work that one time, so fuck yourself.
And then also from Sheepdog, why doesn't TAS have a big red button that says unmute?
What?
Why doesn't TAS have a big red button that says unmute?
Oh, for when I have myself muted on stream. So, fun fact here, I'm going to hold this up. I can detach my little mic here. Let me see if I can move this. But you guys can see my microphone. And so I have a hardware mute. You see the little red ring that appears around the button there. So that's me, how I tell myself that it's like, I can see the red ring. I know I'm on mute. I better turn that off. The problem is in OBS, the setting for my mic is something I have to scroll down to in the scene for this. It isn't at the top of the menu. So sometimes, I won't notice that I got myself muted. Either way, you're not coming to this stream for glitz, for glamour, for even quality control on that type of thing. So, I appreciate your patience.
All right, and then we'll start with Sasha for this one. From Frick Frack Paddywhack. What is the new Bad Batch team targeting for you guys? Is there any defense viability, or do you have a high-value target on offense? And I think this just says, kind of what we talked about earlier,
we adequately covered this.
If you were to talk about a range of teams you'd feel comfortable trying against week 1, or and then on the flip side, where would you place it on defense?
Yeah. Well, I think let me just jump in and just say the defense when we were basically saying, having thought about is there value in the back or anything, Fatal came out and said, just bottom front, see what they do. And
No, I don't want to
generic
stop
good
you
week
quite
one
fast.
strategy anyway.
Sasha has 5 minutes. So that's why he was going. He was being polite.
Got it.
But
Great.
shut up.
I can't even
Hey,
see
Sasha,
that chat. So
sorry,
thanks.
you go.
No worries. I mean, honestly, I'm just going to cover pretty much the same ground. I'm, if anything, underinformed on these on the new Bad Batch squad. So I'm going to be mostly watch and learn. But yeah, I mean, kind of like with most new toys, we don't have a history, so probably maybe drop it bottom front on defense. I do, from what I do understand of them, I do have high hope that they're going to be able to really punch up potentially. And I think enough so that I know there is an appeal to having both Hunter and Wrecker on a Merc squad with the bespoke Hunter Cron, but I don't expect to use it with Balin. I do expect to probably keep the Bad Batch together. So kind of with that, I don't know if we want to hand it to Fatal or somebody that's more involved in their thinking than I'm here.
Well, just give us your final thoughts, just in case you have to. Just
well, wait a minute. Well, real quick, how many more patron questions are there? Because we can.
There's one for Fatal. That's about theory crafting.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, unless we have anything else to add about Bad Batch, because really, we did a fairly good breakdown on that earlier. So I don't think we need to beat that dead horse. Let's get in this last
the TLDR
question.
is just watch Fatal. Just go watch Fatal.
Sure.
Fatal, what you do, we'll look at it as our floor because you're going to try some shenanigans. We're going to go
for time's sake, for brevity's sake. Let's get this last question into Fatal. Okay. Then we'll start the wrap up and let Sasha be first out the door.
All right. Is there a comp? So for Fatal mostly, is there a comp of Ray Watt L3 that could be used for Ray in 5v5? I was batting around Nest and Ben as the 4th and 5th.
The original comp that I think I was messing with was something. Cal was definitely in the mix because I wanted some in my region. I think it might have been Cal Barris at some point. Like I mentioned earlier, with Nest, kind of anytime that you add an extra scoundrel, you kind of dilute the entire concept, and like you risk that. Like, well, okay, like literally they could just run Starkiller, and just like, well, the Mar opener just happens to cleanse Nest instead, and like, I mean, it'll still be annoying, but like the concept of the trap kind of disappears. I don't know. I don't think Nest is awful there. The thing I would kind of say is, depending on what else you're posting on defense, you might be able to just like field a scarier Ray super team with some of the tools that are in play right now. But yeah, I mean, if we're talking pieces, we're talking ways to either disrupt or delay of like, yeah, we're talking Cal, we're talking Barris, we're talking maybe GK, which is like kind of counter synergetic with Cal, but if the goal is just to like make your L3 last, because like my personal L3 is R9 with like very, very high bulk investment, so she can do the mono tank and take an absolute beating that like, yeah, maybe something like a GK could help buy some time, but then you would have to make sure, like, a lot of people, actually less than I expect nowadays. I used to be kind of in the assumption that like, yeah, everyone just has a R9 GK, right? Like everyone's skills just made them do that. I see a lot of RA GKs these days, but point being, you probably have a higher relic GK than your L3. So, like, if you put GK in, you would have to make sure that your modding isn't going to make GK the priority target. And that's determined by whoever has highest health and protection. But, yeah, like, you know, if you want to do, like, sortie VIP on Cal or whatever, that like, just think of it in terms of ways that you can try to make the redundancy a little bit more redundant. Or, I mean, if you want to try to make the team a little bit more effective at fighting, just to, like, you know, Nests, I don't know if the diluting the pool is an issue or not, but it would be good if the team could defend itself, kind of.
Is Zori the only smuggler that's not a scoundrel? Because I seem to remember Zori's not a scoundrel.
Jabba might not be.
Because I was thinking, like, because you don't want another scoundrel there.
Nah, Jabba's is.
Oh, is she? Okay, never mind. Are there any smugglers that aren't scoundrels that you can take advantage of that smuggler level 6 along with L3 and also not have them be a scoundrel for L3.
I think it's kind of a rebel fighter situation. I think.
Okay.
I might be wrong. I don't know, but seems like the vibe.
No, that was a good question.
Yeah,
I don't know what insight I have to add on that, because I didn't even try your Ray L3 Watt thing last season in threes. I might do that next go round, but yeah, I don't really have anything to pile in on with that.
You know who's a smuggler but not a scoundrel is Chewbacca, old school Chewbacca.
I'm not out here trying to like say it's some miracle team. It's literally a team just to
he's a scoundrel. Never mind.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of a way for you to have your cake and eat it too, with a smuggler cron and not have them not be a scoundrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. These are the types of questions that I don't really have answers to until I immerse myself in the season. That doesn't happen for 6 more days usually, so I'm not sure, but yeah,
it's not Monday at noon. Yeah, it's not
hustle
Monday
box building
yet. All right, well, hey, appreciate that. Thanks for the breakdown there, Fatal. All right, let's go ahead and move to closing up the show here. So takeaways. We don't have lessons learned here for this preview, but since Sasha's got to hit the road, your parting words to the people, what you're looking forward to most, the last kernel of wisdom on your way out.
I guess it's just kind of that recurring theme for anybody that certainly has reached this far as a listener, really enjoys GAC and is pretty deep into it. And I think we are in an extreme stage of like super team, throw tons of stuff together, don't hesitate or feel restrained by conventional factions or conventional comps, because I'm always struck when we go from threes back to fives, how few teams you're actually getting to set. And so I think to enable viable defenses, I just get creative juices flowing, come up with combos that are as different as possible, because I think we're really going to have to scrape and claw for defensive viability, some degree of surprise. So that's the general theme that's sort of top of mind for me right now, with where we are. All that being said, we're going into a first week of a new season, even though there's some familiarity with the Datacrons. The first week is always the messiest, and then you have this the opposite of entropy happen, and stuff just starts to gain order and counters get nailed down. But I would still say just get creative and throw stuff together that people won't expect as much as possible. So that would be my 2 cents.
I appreciate it, man. Well, yeah, if you've got a Scoot here, thanks for joining us, as always.
Take care, you guys. I'll see you soon.
All right.
See you, buddy.
Care. And obviously,
see you
this
tomorrow.
is going to destroy the camera situation, but I'm sure we'll make it work here for the end. How about you, Dagger? What do you got to say to the folks? What are you looking forward to here? Your hopes and dreams. Let's have it.
I'm looking forward to week 2.
Aren't you just
week 1 is kind of going to be a throwaway for me for the most part. Not that I'm not going to try. I'm just saying, as far as I will be taking no risks week 1.
Okay.
I'll be one of those filthy people probably saving 6 or 7 GLs.
You just
look, man. I probably won't have the time to do as much scouting as I'd like, and the easiest way to counteract that is to just set teams I think that they might strip some banners on, set some turn meter trains, and just make sure I can just concoct everything on defense for 65.
Oh, very good. Very good. All right, TJ, how about you? We're heading into week 1. What are you looking forward to? What's your final word to the people?
I've got some ideas I want to try. So I think we talked about a lot of them. So anybody who actually got to pay attention and listen through, I think there was a lot of good ideas thrown around. Definitely want to kind of push into that. I already talked about Kakatarn. I'm fully on board seeing what he did with this level 6, and it's basically like level 6 attacker for him. He is a scary man. So I think those are the things I want to do. love to see the limit of the Bad Batch, but we just don't know. Omicron's being turned on with all things and where it's going to be. So I'll be looking forward to watching all the streamers and seeing what shenanigans we can get into. Be it the safest route that most people have, the old school adage of, it's brand new, we've never faced it, goes on defense. Bottom front, go deal with it. And seeing what that's going to either strip for week 1. So I know there was a lot of calling of that. And I think Dagger has some good words of what goes bottom front. Maybe it's J&K or something else just because it'll still something for the back. But refinement is probably where I'm going to leave it. I think tweaking those. I was even doing it while we're on the show, tweaking my tenacity cron for Jabba and making sure that's in line and making sure the stats look good. Getting my CAD and my Embo in line and making sure they're really good to go because they're going to be monsters whatever we're doing. Those pieces. Those are the key ones, man. And then I guess it'll be what are we doing with Sana? And how is she going to mess with the game? That's where I'll leave that one.
Okay, I appreciate that. All right, Fatal. So, scheme's always cooking. What's ready for week 1? What are you looking forward to? What's your final word of wisdom to the folks at home?
I guess first off, twitch.tv/playbook.tv. I don't know.
Oh, you cheated. That comes last.
I preemptively struck.
All right, I see. That's where you can catch him, by the way.
I don't know, man. I like Jabba seems like he'll be in a better position on defense, but then it's like there's like 2 or 3 pretty good offense datacrons that I'm a little bit worried will kind of, the last 5v5 season or 2, the super team angle was working well for me and produced some pretty interesting matches where, because I was so overspending so many teams on defense, it kind of forced me into focusing back on off meta again on offense, and that was a fun dynamic, but I'm pretty quickly concerned that like if the scales tip that like super teams are just getting obliterated for the same cost as like a normal team, then that dynamic falls apart and I don't know where things go from there. So we'll see. I'm hopeful. I'm not gonna assume anything. I'm gonna show up with whatever I think the best 11 teams are and hope that does enough. And yeah, I don't know. I know that I've been kind of timid on suggesting Bad Batch on defense. I think it's a perfectly fine thing to do in week 1, and especially like I think the amount of pressure that they could put really depends on how much your opponent holds. That like if your opponent is just holding 25 squads, then I don't think Bad Batch will really get you anywhere. But if they actually posted a decent amount of stuff, then that pressure could exist, right? I love the team for a reason. They've got really good mechanics. It's the weird push and pull between. Every team does better on offense than defense, plays better on offense than defense, but the Bad Batch is very mechanical, kind of like Ahsoka in that way, that like, at least for me, I'm opposing Ahsoka right now, but it's still just like, am I really getting everything this team is worth for posting it on defense? And so, I don't know, I might post them on defense, I might not, like I might try double wrecker, or there's a few ways that you can go with that comp, or even like Echo for the bonus turns for more disruption is kind of like a bootleg Captain Rex. I don't know. There's a lot of shit to wonder or question about. I don't know that new Bad Batch is actually like 5x new is the way to go there.
Yeah, do you think C beats it like cheaply, like C set?
I'm
trying to think of what somebody might think is a cheap thing to use against it up front.
Would you call
what jumps to mind to me is Treya, right? Because people were doing Treya Nihilus Savage to the trio in 3 vs 3. Granted, it's not the same fight with the with the full ensemble. It might play differently, but that was
I'm
butter
telling
in
you,
3.
I got destroyed.
The reason I'm asking about
I got destroyed. So
TJ got destroyed on that. Never mind. Okay, don't let
Dude,
me.
Yeah, I also had an opponent eat shit on it with Treya.
I'm telling you, because its durability is stronger than people are going to anticipate, and a properly built team can hold out as you're trying to wait to get to the person. And if your wrecker's only the only one who's open, you can't get to the heart of the team, so you're just kind of eating shit, waiting for shit to happen.
And the reason I ask about C is that C is one of the GLs that gets downgraded the most or traded down the most. And I was just curious.
It's pretty likely.
Yeah, because
you just like Crosshair.
Yeah, if that's the case, it might. Depending on, like what you were saying, depending on how much they save. I was just trying to think, like, week 1, that's probably going to be one of my go-tos, because it just, like, turns off the Omi and just makes it... I'd rather slug through a team I know than take a chance on a team I don't.
I would say
I think that's going to be everybody's answer.
CWAT set would probably secure you, right? Because you would do the first link on Wrecker, and then now you get to look at everybody that's hidden under stealth. You link up Crosshair, and then you're off to the races, and then you have enough. You've got your backup, health and protection refill if set dies, and then tank tech besides. You might even get health tech onto set and keep all 3 in the end. It could happen.
Yeah, that's the only reason I ask, is that was more for me than for anybody listening. But I figured since we're on the show, I'd ask, because it might, help other people.
No, that's people want to hear that. That's good stuff.
It's the reason why I don't feel super bullish about them on defense at the moment. Is
yeah,
I mean, even if they had their Omicrons on, I don't know if it actually changed anything. It actually, Crosshair assisting would technically feed more oil charge. I don't know. I guess the one thing that would maybe be curious is the instant execute. He would execute Crosshair. He would go into captive, and then there's a world where actually like he could come back and be unlinked, and then like try it, but then you could just hold link and like you have the tool set to like re-control that. Yeah, I don't know. It's
I'm just
probably pretty easy.
Yeah, because like I'm just thinking, it's like all the things I see or you see against, I don't really have an issue using something else. Like Malgus and like Malikos come to mind. I have other things I can use to, I don't want to say trivialize, but beat those that are probably a little sloppier. But yeah, anyways, that I was just curious, because that might be my go-to.
It's the reason why it's hard to get excited about new 5v5 teams outside of the super team angle, is because it's nothing trades well nowadays. The moment that any solid new team shows up, it just gets GL'd.
Yeah.
So the super team angle is, I mean, fuck, man. For all I know, maybe there is a world where, well, the GLs just shut off the Bad Batch Omicron, so I say fuck the factionalization and I start looking to plug and play theory crafting anyway. I don't know. That doesn't mean that you necessarily find anything, but we
will be following your GAC with great interest.
Yes.
That is not a promise. That is not a teaser. It is just me thinking out loud.
Yeah. Well,
I get it.
Just.tv, what was it?
I was going to say, Fatal, I can't let you cheat the process here. Lest the people forget. Where can they find you this season?
In Monster Hunter and Marvel Rivals. Twitch.tv/.
If it goes like that last 3s round, you're going to be putting time in on other games. All right. Well, thank you so much, man. For my part, so the super teams you have to plan for, reserve adequate offense for that. But just like what I had found in the majority of my real 3v3 matches last season, if we're in a meta where people are saving quite a bit of offensive tools, you have, your challenge teams that you're going to make, and in 5v5, we don't have the same footprint that we do in 3, so you can set, some decent power teams in the back, and you can get 5 of them in the back. In 5v5, this is why we talk about concentrates, because it's tough to create a big enough defense that actually holds up to a standard team. So if it's going to be about concentrate defenses in the back, then we're returning to that it's about choices up front. So, especially in week 1, something like this Bad Batch, seeing what it costs an opponent, regardless of whether or not you win the match, getting your own body of data about what does this demand from my opponents, that will be valuable. But beyond the scope of the Bad Batch team, choices up front. That may not be just a week 1 theme, but offer, with your set 20 crons, with anything that you specialized and set up for this week, for a defense, if it isn't a concentrate, consider just setting it bottom front and letting them make the choices immediately. Don't let them have the discretion to see the full board and say, you know what, I don't actually have to treat that Sana team on an even basis. I'm just going to crush it with something else, or same with the Bad Batch, whatever other set 20 shenanigans you have in mind. But that's my thought on it.
Also, if you don't see, to that note,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't see Rey up front, reserve Leia.
Yeah, assuming the worst case that somebody wanted to do Rey Swallow Exile Ezra to you're
Yeah.
probably safest saving Leia for that effect. Yeah,
Just
fair enough.
plan for a nasty Rey and a nasty Jabba in the back if they aren't up front. We've talked about this past seasons. It's like people are. I know I told this happened a few times this last 3v3 season. I know I told Tass this. It's like I didn't see it, so I knew it was in the back, and it just meant
Yeah.
that they had 4 teams in the back instead of 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So take all the free information you can get from your opponents, and if they don't have Rey or Jabba in the back, like just DM them and thank them.
Fair. All right, well, that's a fair and right way to do it. All right, guys, we have made it to the end of the show. Thank you all so much for, making yourselves available here for a late night recording. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do the regular wrap up here. Of course.
Cheers. I've pretty much sobered up from this whole show.
Two cups of coffee in. I'm probably going to be up for a while. I might.
Yeah, I probably will be too at this point. But yeah. Cheers.
Right. Well, anyways, guys, for all the viewers, if you're used to seeing me live, then you know that you can find me at twitch.tv/Tassinix. I am now simulcasting as well on my YouTube channel, Tassinix Gaming, so check that out. Of course, if you're interested in some other Swugger-related content, there's a wealth of it there on the YouTube channel. We've got my Datacron set guide on set 20 that I made with Aesop Rock, the #1 Grand Arena player in the world. My mod guide videos on characters and factions that you have asked about. Odds and ends guides, like, how to mod. If you're new to it and you want to understand it from the ground up, there's something good there. Or maybe you want to brush up on how you want to prioritize your Grand Arena Omicrons. I have a GAC Omicron tier list video there. So much more. It's also, of course, a rebroadcasting point for this very podcast, Plotting and Scheming. However, the podcast does live natively over on Spotify. Wherever you find an episode, though, check out the description. There is an RSS feed link there that you can plug into your preferred podcast program and follow us there. Aside from that, anything that you're watching, on YouTube, whatever, give it a like if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. And if you want to go above and beyond the Call of Duty in supporting the channel, there are a few ways. First of all, Cash App is $Tassinix. My PayPal is tassinix@gmail.com. And if you want to get some enhanced scouting tools, get early access to some of my content, be able to hang out with me and my dedicated crew of GAC, madmen aficionados, you'll have to check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Tassinix. Oh yeah, another fringe benefit is you get to submit questions for these in-between episodes, yeah. But anyway, check out patreon.com/Tassinix. Any upwardly mobile Grand Arena player has something to gain from checking it out. So is my belief, anyway. At $5 a month, you enter the TAS House at VIP access level, where you get early access to the Plotting and Scheming podcast. This is coming out to the public Fridays at 8 a.m. My patrons are getting it as early as Tuesday night, within hours of us recording, so that's usually going to give you a leg up on the first round of the week. In addition, you get early access to the Datacron set guide videos, and of course, dedicated text and voice chat on Discord, where you can usually find me lurking, so pop on in, say hi. Thank you so much to Andrew, Banja, Deadpool Kyle 28, JJ's Productions Twitch, Jobin4527, Johnny B. Ottawa, Miasmal, Mus Ross, Rays Malbus, Sam Vimes, Sheepdog 47, Squed, Stark Strategy Gamer, Sweens 14, and White Wolf. Moving on up to the $10 a month tier is VIP Access Plus, where you get a bundled Patreon access to me and to OmegaBot. I have to breathe a second here. But, at the start of every one of my streams, I show an OmegaBot report on my opponent. No other tool gives such a powerful at-a-glance sense of what your opponent is about, offensively and defensively. Anybody can use the tool for free to pull their opponent's last week of history, but patrons can make a custom report with any number of weeks. You get a downloadable HTML version of the report with links that you can click that take you right back into swugga.gg or Insight, whichever one you use. Just helps you drill down further on those specific questions you've got about that opponent. Thank you so much to Dobby, Esh Sotnikam, Snack Attack, and Striker. And then moving on up to VIP Access Premium, this is $15 a month for the Double Bot Bundle. Some say the greatest value Swugga bundle in the game. Because you get a Patreon access to me, to OmegaBot, and to Hot Utils, the #1 tool for your mass mod management and loadout creation. You can easily move between TW, Grand Arena, Raid, whatever your mode is, in just seconds. You can switch those mods out. You can use it like TJ and Fatal do to comprehensively remod your roster. You can slice through a backlog of mods in seconds, to say nothing of all the TW functionality. Thank you so much to Argots, Arj, Duckstab, Darkhug, Frick Paddywhack, General Milan, Ibedenk, Kev, Quig, Saldag, Sir Boss, Sophus, The Lost Womp Rat, Wilco, and Zoltre for taking that offer. And of course, at the top of the heap, Ingesters Club Elite, the one, the only Nomad's Reaper. This madman pops in from time to time on my streams and we'll just go gangbusters with it. He'll drop hundreds of subs, thousands of biddies, all in one go. Incredibly generous support over the years. Thank you so much, man. And of course, last but never least, our special thanks. First up is Yoda Force, one of my original supporters way back in the day, bought me the mic I'm speaking to you on right now, and actually, it's starting to approach the end of its service life. It's been knocked over God only knows how many times by my daughter, by my cat, and let's be honest, mostly me. But nevertheless, it's served me a long time since the beginning of this stream, and, Yoda Force was the guy that hooked that up. So even though he has long since quit the game, we wish him well from the other side. To Mrs. T, my wife, thank you for all you do in the background, whether that's, providing me with alcohol so that I can debase myself on stream, or just keeping our daughter from ripping our home apart brick by brick while I'm tied up trying to be halfway decent at a phone game. Thank you. And last, to Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal, my co-hosts here on Plotting and Scheming. Gentlemen, as always, it's a pleasure and a privilege to record our show together. Never mind that, we all have very busy work and personal lives, and it can sometimes be a challenge to get everything scheduled and lined up right, but damn if we aren't getting it done nearly 2 years in. I learn from you guys every week. Our viewers learn a lot from us, lots of great conversation around the show, and I have you all to thank for making it what it is, so thank you guys so much. Moving back over to the main scene, we've made it here to the very end. Good luck to you in your preparations here for week 1 of 5 vs. 5. And until next time, it's been real. It's been awesome. It's been real awesome. Take care.